All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in on this episode. My name is Will Hamburg. I'm the co-founder of Capital Giants. And in today's episode, I am going to cover something pretty important, and that's Scottsdale's new short-term rental law. It actually just went into effect. It just passed on Friday, October 28th, and it's going to go into effect next month. So a couple important things here that have changed. And the reason I wanted to cover it is even if you're not in short-term rental investing, it's good to know these things as an investor because you need to know how it works in your community, especially in Arizona. So for us in Sedona, we want to know what's going on because Sedona's most likely going to copy what Scottsdale has done today. So let me take a look here. All right. So the first thing is the most obvious request, and that is the license. And the reason they want to do a license is because they can track who is actually doing the short-term rental and how to contact them. So it's a very simple form. They collect a small fee. It's not a big deal. I think that part of it is fine. The next part is you need to carry liability insurance, okay? So the liability insurance on this law, they did not clarify how much insurance you need to have. However, if you're on a platform like Airbnb, for example, I believe they provide a $1 million policy. But if you're not, or if you're on multiple sites like TripAdvisor and HomeAway and these others, you need to understand how it works and how each policy differs, right? So if you have an Airbnb guest of 1 week and it's $1 million policy and say HomeAway is a $500,000 policy and that's not enough for the city, you could be in trouble there. So just make sure you're reading through the policies on each of those sites. Now, the next thing that Scottsdale is wanting is to provide a neighbor notification. Okay? And this is something I've seen in a lot of cities. And that's just basically saying we need to have up-to-date contact information for you that you're going to respond right away. If they get a complaint, at least in Scottsdale, it might be the same in other places, but if they get a complaint, they're committed to responding within 60 minutes of a complaint. So that's typically noise. In Sedona might be lights, could be trash, could be any kind of those concerns that the city is actually committing that they're going to send typically an officer over within 60 minutes. Another important one, which I really like, is requiring the pool barriers. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go into great detail on this, but there's requirements for having your pool secure so that kids don't go in when you're not looking. It can differ sometimes, I've heard, on hot tubs where you may not need a fence if the top can close and lock. So I'm not going to really go into that because kind of a legal issue there, but yeah, look into what that law is where you are locally. Another good one, I'm going to change markers because my marker is dying here, is providing smoke alarms, right? So that is a no-brainer, guys. Everyone should have this. But something they didn't note on here is carbon monoxide. Okay, everyone should have this as well. So make sure any of your properties, short-term or long-term rental or your primary residence, should have that anyways, guys. Something that was really interesting that came up, which makes sense to me as well, is they are requiring a map of the exits at your property. Now, they didn't clarify where this map needs to be, but I'm assuming like when you go to a hotel and you check in your hotel and you close the door, you see that map on your door. So that's, I think, a very good one. So map of exits. Now, something else to note that you should be aware of, and again, I'm not an attorney, you should look into this, is how the egress, the exit of a room works. So some people might rent a room or a house and count it as a room. There's debate over if it has a closet, if that counts as a bedroom. most cases, it does not matter. It's minimum square footage, ingress, so you can enter the room, and egress, you can exit from another place in case there was a fire in the house. So there is a minimum window height. Okay, so again, check with your general contractor or your attorney and figure that out to make sure you have that height requirement. Because if the window's too high and someone small or a child can't escape, that could be a major problem. So just keep in mind that. Okay, next one is pest control. Again, very broad. They did not specify what type of pest control, how often you have to do it, or anything. So this is something everyone should have automatically anyways. I know that's what we do. We have every 6 months, we have a termite or a pest. If we had mice or something like that, then they're setting traps and making sure they're not getting in again. So that is something we should all be doing anyways. 2 more things here, and that is the cleaning requirement and trash and garbage compliance. So, keep the property clean and make sure you're dealing with trash. Now, in Sedona, our biggest problem with trash is javelinas. So we put our trash outside the night before, and in the night or in the early mornings, javelinas come and knock it over, and there's trash everywhere. That is by far the biggest complaint we have gotten in Sedona on our short-term rentals. And it's hard because you don't know what happened. And this is where I tell clients and investors that the best thing you can do if you have a short-term rental, regardless of your neighbors not liking it or not, is to tell your neighbors what you're doing. You can convert these people that are angry about the short-term rental and say, hey, just want to let you know, I'm doing short-term rental. Whether you're a fan or not, I just need your help to keep an eye on it to make sure, we don't have loud parties. I want to be very respectful of you. And if javelinas knock over the trash or anything, please text me. Here's my cell phone number, or here's my property manager's number, and let me know. Because I have seen so many people get fined for that problem alone. Now, also in Sedona, I don't know how it is in Scottsdale on this nuance, but you cannot leave your trash can out for more than 1 day. So, for example, today is trash day in Sedona. If I was to leave my trash can out and not bring it in today and leave it out tomorrow, I could get fined $100. So just make sure you're aware of that. At least your cleaner or your property manager or even your guest, let them know, hey, if the trash can's out, could you bring it in? So, okay. Something else that has always been a law, but I want to talk about it because they mentioned it in their press release, is it's no non-residential usage, right? So you cannot have a party. Where is it then? Sure. Okay, running out of room here. But you can't have, for example, a concert. You actually can't even have a wedding. Nothing that's non-residential usage in a neighborhood is allowed. And that's been the case for a very long time. You have to have a permit or a license. You cannot do these big events at a house. No matter how big and amazing the short-term rental is, it is not allowed. And you will get in serious trouble. They will fine you and probably take your license away. So just be very careful of that. I've seen a lot of people in Scottsdale lose their short-term rental license that way. Okay, so to wrap up, I want to talk about the penalties, okay? Because also, funny timing was in this week's Arizona Journal of Real Estate, they talked about the 3-strike rule. So this is something serious, guys. There is a 3-strike rule, and that's why you have to be ultra careful and have really good property management. So the 3-strike rule states that if you break any of these rules that they're proposing, especially the license, not getting the license, that's the biggest one. That could be your first strike day one. You don't want to have that. So I definitely recommend getting your license. But the way the penalties work is the first offense is $250. The second offense is $1,000, and you're thinking, okay, I have a short-term rental. It's not that big a deal. Your third, you're done. They can literally tell you you cannot do short-term rental at this property anymore. Your license is revoked. And if we find you doing it, you're going to be even in more trouble. So you don't want to have the city of Phoenix or Scottsdale or Sedona suing you or putting a lien on your property. So that's something to just be careful of. That's why we want to know these rules. We want to follow them as best we can and really get clarity. Because as real estate investors, what frustrates me the most is the lack of clarity. I really do not like these laws and rule changes. And it's not because I'm an investor. It's because I believe in property rights. It is everyone's right to do whatever they want with their property. We just don't want to disrespect our neighbors, right? We wouldn't want the same thing if we were retiring in a quiet community. We wouldn't want our next door neighbor to be having parties and have trash all on our street. So, as always, just be respectful. That's the number one thing. Have good communication with your neighbors and have a good, system for your cleaners, for your property manager, so that every time you have a guest check in or out, that they're going to follow. They know, all right, just make sure the map is still there. You never know. Kids tear stuff down. Let me know if there's any trash in the street. Make sure the smoke alarms and carbon monoxide filters are working. The property must be clean at all times. They kept this very vague, guys. So make sure the landscaping is also very clean and nice. And when your landscapers are out there, that they're out there during, hours, reasonable hours, not 6 a.m. I know in Phoenix, they've had some issues with their landscapers on rentals going out very early. I don't blame them, but, they have to wait until they're allowed. So, and just not doing any non-residential. I think people miss out on this. They get a booking on Airbnb or something. Say, look, we have 10, 12, 15 people for this anniversary or wedding, and we're willing to pay more. Can we use your property? Unfortunately, you're going to have to say, no, we're not set up for that. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to post the article and the information for the city of Scottsdale and Sedona at the bottom of this video for you guys. And just let me know if you have any questions. All right. Have a good rest of your day.